Hi there, it's Dr. Donahue. Happy Friday. Wow, the weeks are flying by so fast, aren't they? So welcome everybody that's here. If you have an opportunity, please drop in the chat where you're coming from. I see several of you are on, and I love to connect. Hey, how's it going? Yeah, let me know where you're coming from and if you have any questions throughout. So I do these a couple times a week, and so they've become so much fun for me, and I hope you guys are learning on the journey as well. And if you are listening to this in the replay, um, feel free to actually comment and respond, and we'll get back to you. So I have a question, on my lovely go-getters, high performers, leaders that are struggling with your health, and you're exhausted, but you're wired. And so today I want to talk about how can you heal burnout, anxiety, and sleepless nights naturally. So I want to ask you something, and feel free to comment in the chat. Or I always have like a notepad and paper when I'm listening to a live so that when I learn, I can write things down. So, are you tired all day but wired at night? Like you're just dragging throughout the day, but all of a sudden when night comes, you're like, woohoo, I'm going to get everything done. Think about that. Is that you? Or do you crash after coffee? Or do you feel like your brain won't shut off no matter what? You have probably tried eating healthy, exercising, meditating, praying, but inside you know that your body feels off. This happens all the time at the clinic. And this isn't just stress, it's actually your nervous system talking to you for help. But unless somebody brings it to your attention, you don't think about that, right? So, drop me in the chat if you've truly felt this recently. Any of the symptoms that I described above. Or who here feels like they've lost their bounce back, like you can't get yourself back on track? Your true inner vitality. And how would your life change if you could wake up rested, calm, and feel clear every day? Wouldn't that be amazing? Because I certainly feel that way. But when there's times in stress and I'm not doing all the things or showing up, then I feel wired and tired and burnt out. But let's talk about what's truly going on in your in your body. It's a burnout, anxiety, poor sleep, and that exhausted but wired feeling is coming from what I call a dysregulated nervous system and burned out adrenals. So you have an autonomic nervous system, we all have it, and we have two systems that interplay back and forth within that nervous system. One is your sympathetic system. That's your fight or flight, your yang, your push, your drive. And that is what you're probably stuck on when you're burnt out, anxious, and can't sleep. Your body isn't getting enough of the other part of the nervous system, which is your parasympathetic, which is your rest and your heal and your digest and your yin and your quiet mode. Cortisol is truly spiking when it shouldn't, and then melatonin can't do its job. What does that mean, Dr. Donahue? So we have a natural cortisol curve where we have a higher elevation in the morning, not elevated, but it's higher. And then it starts to drop off, and then it has a little blip and it comes down. And around 3 to 4 p.m., we have like a little mountain, and that's to get us through the day. And then the cortisol should naturally start to drop, and then melatonin kicks in. And when melatonin kicks in from the pituitary, it says, okay, it's time for you to sleep, right? So then you go into sleep mode and then you rest. So, what are some of the symptoms if your cortisol is spiking when it shouldn't? You could be waking up between 2 to 4 a.m. You can have heart racing or anxiety at night. You can't fall asleep or stay asleep. and you're constantly tired, but you can't relax. When we truly reset the nervous system and have a balance, your body then remembers how to heal. Your sleep deepens, the REM, the deeper the sleep, your calmness inside your body returns. Who doesn't want that? You don't want this kind of buzzing like energy. And your energy will begin to stabilize without the caffeine. You won't need that caffeine for the kick. So let me ask you this. What's one word that describes how you've been feeling lately? Drop it in the chat for me. Excuse me. Anxious, depressed, exhausted all the time. Okay, great. That's exactly what we're talking about here. So you're in the right place. Have you ever thought of your nervous system might be the missing piece? Like, I bet you were going to do all the things, but you never thought to step back and look at the nervous system. So, today, in our short time in connection together, I want to talk about 3 ways that you can truly balance the nervous system naturally. One way is the one I always talk about is nutrition. Fueling that calms the brain and it rebuilds the body. So, what often happens is many of you, as high performers and go getters, you're going to skip meals. You might be drinking too much caffeine. You're grabbing starchy sort of foods, or you're eating clean, but you don't get enough protein and healthy fats in. This is going to deplete the nutrients that actually regulate your cortisol, help stabilize your sugars, your blood sugars, and it helps rebuild your neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. So, with the right fuel, like quality protein and healthy fats and micronutrients, your body can come back online. That's what I call it. It gets back into the groove. So, you go from like shaky, moody, and depleted to feeling strong and steady and resilient. So, what I suggest to patients is eating every 3 to 4 hours, and 100%, this should happen anyway, but especially in a situation where you're feeling wired and tired, you truly want to prioritize your proteins and your omega-3 fats, right? So those are like your fatty fishes, like your wild salmons, your halibuts. It can even be walnuts, olive oil, even fish oils. And then you also want to add in magnesium rich foods or take magnesium. Quite honestly, I bet you so many of you, unless you're taking magnesium, you're most likely deficient in it. We just did a post around magnesium deficiency and blood sugar. So take a peek at that. So I want you to think about it and drop it in the chat if you feel brave enough, to those that are on live, or do it like when you're watching the recording. What is your go-to stress snack? Is it sweet or is it salty? Because the truth is you really shouldn't crave if you're balanced. And how many grams of protein do you think you're getting each day? Remember, it should be your ideal body weight in pounds. So say your ideal body weight is 150 pounds. You should be getting 150 grams of protein a day, 120 to 150, because you need that for your body to function, or your body will break down muscle. It'll catabolize it. It'll break it down, right? So make sure you're getting in your healthy proteins and healthy fats. So you need insulin for protein and insulin for starches and sugars. You don't need it for healthy fats. So I would much rather be using my insulin for protein, because it's going to carry me longer and be more satiated, and it's going to help me get through the day better. So that's where I lean into my protein. So resting the mind in deep sleep for the nervous system repair is so important. What could be happening if you're not doing that? Your mind is never shutting off, and it's really robbing your body to recover and detoxify and truly, feel grounded. Did you know that sleep is when your brain detoxifies, your hormones reset themselves, and healing truly happens? But if you're tossing and turning, Your HPA axis, which is your brain with your adrenal connection, stays inflamed. So when you're sleeping 8 to 9 hours in a true relaxed, in that parasympathetic state, your entire system gets rewired. Your inflammation drops, your hormones rebalance, and all of your metabolism resets. And I will tell you, that's when you're truly going to lose weight. You could be pushing, driving, but if your hormones are off and your nervous system is dysregulated, the bloating and the weight gain is going to continue, and it's going to just stay there right around your front here, right where most women and men are trying to lose it. So let's talk about some sleep rituals that work really, really well and are super easy. I would even say 2 hours before bed, shut off your screen. But my goal, if I can get you to do it, is 90 minutes. But I would say 2 to 3 hours before bed. Eat a protein rich dinner with healthy fats, because that's going to satiate you so you don't have blood sugar drops in the middle of the night and all of a sudden you wake up, right? You could also think of, if it works for you, remember, I'm not diagnosing, treating, and suggesting anything, but you could use like a magnesium glycinate, a magnesium threonate, passion flower, chamomile, or even valerian root tea. So that would be very healing to have like an hour before bed, because that will help you relax your nervous system. You could mix those all together, or you could choose one. The other thing that a lot of patients love to do is they actually create a sleep ritual that works for them, and they do the same pattern every night. And that really helps them sleep well. So think about, how many hours did you get of sleep last night? And have you ever tracked how food and screen time can affect your sleep? If not, I would just do a quick research project on yourself and really look at it and say, what happens when I do this? What happens when I watch a screen right before bed, right? The other one that we think about in this list is movement to release stress, to reset your cortisol. So, what's actually happening with that? When you're sedentary or doing only high intensity workouts, cortisol will stay elevated, right? So, that's that cardio burnout that you hear people talk about. However, gentle restorative movements like walking and stretching and yoga or Tai Chi, Qigong, that tells your nervous system that you're safe. And this gentle restorative movement actually helps you discharge stress. So you always want to make sure you have recovery, but another one that could fit in here would be strength training, because all of these help reset your cortisol rhythms and they help detoxify the body. This all leads to calmer energy, better sound sleep, and even mental clarity. Because if you push in that drive, that mental clarity, your brain can become foggy, right? Which is what I see so many patients nowadays. Excuse me. So, those of you that are on, some of the ones that you could think about are morning walks to really reset your circadian rhythm, 10-minute movement breaks during the day, or even stretching and deep breathing after work. So those are super simple. And then you want to think to yourself, if I do these, do I feel better after moving, or do I feel depleted? And I want you to do, or what makes sense to me, I should say, not what I want you to do, is choose your favorite form of movement, because your favorite form of movement is going to, you're going to show up for it more. Whereas if I say, you should do stretching, and that's not something that you love, it's kind of like if like somebody says you should do burpees, I'm like, I'm going to choose something else. I'm not a burpee lover. I don't know many people are, even though I know it's a great exercise, but I get a little bored jumping down and jumping back up. It's just not my fun chat. But so think about, what is your favorite form of movement and do that. And here's a bonus for you in the next 5 minutes. Screens, EMFs, and burnouts all connect. So with the screens, you're getting blue light. That social media scroll, you're judging, and your mind is on like, you don't know this, but every time you scroll and you flip the screen, there's a judgment. I like that. I don't like that. I like that. Wow, look at what that person is doing, right? and the EMF exposure, all of this stimulates your brain at night when it should truly be winding down. And so, what does the blue light do? It suppresses melatonin. Remember, we talked about that in the beginning. When the cortisol starts to drop off, melatonin kicks in and says, okay, it's time to be at peace. It's time to rest. It's time to quiet, right? That gets suppressed when you're doing blue light and social media scrolls and EMF right before bed. It also will cause your dopamine to crash. Your nervous system will become overstimulated. And quite honestly, your cortisol is going to spike. And that's not what you want. We want our cortisol to drop off so that we have a sound sleep. And that's why we also don't want our blood sugar to spike at night, because we don't want the cortisol to be like, alarm, 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 your blood sugar is dropping, you need to wake up. So, when we look at this all together, reducing screen time, especially before bed, allows your body to restore its natural circadian rhythm, its natural sleep cycle, and that allows you to get into that deep regenerative rest and less anxiety. So, what are some of the solutions that we're talking about in this section? I would suggest wearing blue light glasses. Put your phone in airplane mode by 9 p.m. or even do journaling or reading. But I had a patient reading one time and she was reading like action books and like what's going to happen. And so that kept her up. So make sure that your reading is gentle and not stressful, and do that instead of scrolling. So really think about it, because I see so many when I'm traveling of friends and family, they're using their screens right before bed, and that can be overstimulating. So I want to ask you, could you commit to a 7-day screen detox, like where you're not looking at your screen 2 to 3 hours before bed? That would be amazing for your nervous system and your body. So you don't have to live in a state of constant push. It's not natural. You're not going to be more successful by doing that. And you also don't have to crash every afternoon and dread the night because you know that sleep isn't going to come. There is truly a way that you get to figure out how to regulate your nervous system, truly feed your body the nutrients and minerals and nourishment that it needs, and wake up every day feeling clear, energized, and you in control again. Your nervous system just needs a little bit of regulating. It does not need more discipline and more willpower. It just needs to be regulated better. And then nutrition, sleep, and movement are your foundation. It's not extras. This is what you need for your body to feel grounded and healthy. You can truly 100% break free from the exhausted but wired cycle naturally. So if you felt like any of this has hit home, I invite you to start implementing one of these simple changes this week. And if you're truly ready, like you are showing up, you're watching the replays and you're listening and you're like, wow, like I want to go deeper with Dr. Donahue. Like I just love what she's sharing here. I want you to think about joining Pocket Doc. That is my favorite program that clients love. I go live the first and third Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time of each month. You get messages in your inbox personally from me. You get handouts on all different areas of healing. I have clients even ask me to, talk about certain topics that they're struggling with, so I can tailor it to you and I can answer questions for you during Pocket Doc. So I just love this program. I'm going to drop it here, and I'm also going to drop it in the comments for you as well. And it has just been so much fun for me to create Pocket Doc. And I think that it's just getting started again this year, even though we're in the end of April and we're stepping into May. It's just, I've got so much great feedback from it. So I would love to see you inside Pocket Doc. So the link, it's joinpocketdoc.com. The link is in the comments, and I want to open it up like I always do for the next minute or so. I'll stay on and see if anybody has any questions, those of you that are live. I've got several live on with me, so please don't hesitate to ask questions. Don't be shy. Um, I work with patients all day long, and I want you to be able to heal. This is why I'm showing up for you on a Friday afternoon. No questions? Any questions about Pocket Dog? No? I'll stay on for another minute or so because sometimes people hesitate. All right. I'm going to log off now. There's no questions popping through, and I don't want to waste my time or your time. And there's things that I want to close up for myself, for my own nervous system regulation, so that I can have an amazing weekend. I am sending you so much love this weekend, and I can't wait to see you next week on another online live doc show. Have a beautiful weekend.